Today, I'm at University of Wisconsin with a sign that says animals deserve to be abused. Change my mind. I sit down with Jacob, a meat-loving troll who had just gotten out of a heated discussion with my coworkers. I wanted to see if I could break him out of his defensive state and have a productive conversation about animal rights. You said something about us wanting to take away your cheeseburgers. Could you expound on that?
Well, I like cheese and I like meat, and they both come from cows. So I like cheeseburgers. I like cheeseburgers.
I like cheeseburgers as well. I understand where you're coming from. What are your thoughts on animals? Do you think they should be...
I love animals. I love raccoons. I have 3 guinea pigs, but there's also we got farmers in Wisconsin and stuff. It's a lot of them depend on that for their livelihood and their business.
Do you come from a farming family?
No, not personally. Not personally. But I know Wisconsin is the cheese state, and there's
hats everywhere.
Yeah, it's a big thing for Wisconsin.
Sure. So we've hit on a few things. The first one's kind of enjoyment. We can talk about that later. Let's talk about the industry. Industries depend on this. Do you think that provides moral justification? For example, if I wanted to start a dog fighting ring and I was going to make a lot of money from that, would that therefore make dog fighting okay?
No.
Why not?
Because what I want from a farm that uses cows as meat and cheese, I want them to humanely do it. If they are euthanized in a proper manner to where they grow old and then they can get the meat from it, then that's okay. But just how you would euthanize a dog, but they shouldn't be slaughtered in a way. I don't know. There's kind of a fine line between what is okay and what isn't okay.
So if an animal is going to die anyway, it's okay to euthanize them, and that would be humane, basically.
Well, I mean, that's why we put down dogs when they're sick, and it's because you don't want them to suffer. And
yeah, I completely agree, because we can recognize that if an animal is in a state of suffering or pain, the moral thing to do would be to end that suffering for that animal with euthanasia, which is about as painless as it's going to get. So the meat industry can't do that, because when they euthanize animals, that would ruin the meat. And also, they can't let them live their entire life. That's completely uneconomical. But we both agree that it's best to minimize animal suffering, right?
Yes.
Why should we be concerned with animal suffering?
We are what's the word? Sentient? Being we have thoughts, and I think cows are actually aware that they're aware. They're actually pretty intelligent creatures that can create bonds with people. Not all animals can do that, but they actually are very smart. So I think that would be good for
Yeah, I think you said it very well. I love the word sentient. I think when we're kind of looking at moral decisions, one of the most important tenets we can keep in mind is whether or not the individual is sentient. And cows are sentient. Chickens are sentient. A lot of people kind of think chickens are really dumb, but they can actually be taught to do tricks. They purr when you pet them in the same way that cats do. Pigs are as smart as a 3-year-old human child. And at the end of the day, are humans animals?
We are for sure animals. That's why we eat meat.
Unfortunately, I forgot to address this appeal to nature, but I should have said animals do many things we wouldn't consider moral. Animals kill their babies. Is it okay for humans to kill their children because animals do it? Obviously not.
I mean, we've evolved to the point where we have been eating meat for years and years and years. So that's just a part of what we do, whether that's for the worst or for the best. That is just kind of how it's gone.
It is definitely how it's gone. So let's test that principle. Let's say, can we do something because we've always done it?
No.
What's an example of a time when we shouldn't do that?
Well, I'd say women's rights, probably racism too. Just because the majority of people have done things for a certain amount of time doesn't mean that it's okay to do it.
I think those are great examples. Yeah, women's rights especially is, important to me. I wouldn't be able to be at this university if we were living 100 years ago, right? And as far as racism, it's still a huge problem, but it's getting better, right? We can try to do these things. And the reason that we wanted to end racism and discrimination toward women is because we recognize that women are individuals who should have rights, and Black people are individuals who should have rights, and the differences in race and gender are not what rights should be granted upon, right? So in the same way, are animals individuals who should be granted rights because, like you said, they're sentient and they're similar to us?
I think, yeah, I would agree to a certain degree. Yeah. But it's also it's kind of difficult to move on. I mean, I know being vegan works like with like your digestive system stuff. I had a girlfriend, like I still am dating her, that was vegan for like it's like 5 or 6 years. I understand the concern for like the animal abuse and all that, but it's sometimes it's like it's almost like people have like eating disorders and stuff, and it's like you almost like can't get out of your ways of like what you do eat because you're so comfortable with it, and it's like how else are you gonna get your nutrition, like you know what I mean, like just like how are you gonna get any sustenance without like knowing like you like this and you're comfortable with it, and it's you grow up for like how many years until you start waking up to like, oh, okay, vegan.
It's certainly a change, right? And I went 30 years with not being vegan, and there was definitely an adjustment when you kind of think of your favorite foods, like you mentioned cheeseburgers, and to be like, oh my god, what if I can't have cheeseburgers again? The cool thing is that now we've got plant-based substitutes. And as far as people with eating disorders, I feel weird asking this question, but are you one of those people? Or
for sure. I'm super picky. Like I can't unless like there's something that like really hits my like craving like feeling, I can't eat it. Like I eat lettuce sometimes and some veggies and like basil and stuff but it's like so hard for me to do it because it's just like I'm so like fixated already like on
what you do.
And yeah, what's comfortable, what's comforting.
I totally understand, and I do want to say that vegans don't just eat lettuce or vegetables or salads or whatnot. Yeah, I don't even think that's what you're implying, but what I would say is that all the foods you currently enjoy, there is a vegan version for. I've never found a food that doesn't have a vegan version that is really good. Have you like tried any of the plant-based substitutes?
Yeah, it just never really seemed like to hit the spot. The tofu though, I will get down with that. The tofu is really good. I can down with like seasoned tofu and cook up it. Yeah.
There's all these food trucks have tofu options and they're really good. And so maybe there's some plant-based things you don't like and some that you do, and that's totally fine. But what we're talking about here is, kind of a slight change, but the effects are big. Like these animals are being tortured and abused and mutilated, and horrific things are happening. I've been to slaughterhouses. I've heard the screams of pigs as they're killed in gas chambers. And to say that I don't even know if you were saying this, but that it's justified because we just want to do it, that we enjoy it, I think is morally abhorrent. Do you think that the pleasure we get from eating these products can morally justify what happens to animals?
I mean, that's a pretty tough question because I really do enjoy it. As a human, like, I know that, like, I need protein and certain things. Like, let me ask you this. Do you think there's any room for, like, properly killing an animal to harvest their meat that they have? Like, do you think there's a proper way to do it, or do you think that there's just no-go at all?
Sure. So I oppose any unnecessary animal cruelty. I think if you're in the woods and you have to kill an animal to survive, you could morally justify it. I recognize that we're not in that situation whatsoever. And even if there were a proper way, like letting the animal live their whole life or killing them painlessly, that could never actually happen in reality because the demand for meat is so high. We kill billions of animals every year, and the only way we can meet that demand is by putting them in these industrial farms, these horrible conditions. But even if there were kind of an ideal way to kill animals, I would say no, because I think that animal rights are a logical extension of human rights. In the same ways that we talked about earlier, that animals are intelligent and conscious and sentient, that means that they should be granted the right to not be murdered for a cheeseburger, I think, especially when we have easy alternatives like the situation we do today. But I want to kind of go back to that enjoyment question. Do you think the enjoyment could justify what happens to these animals?
Yes, I love cheeseburgers.
Okay, so let's test this logical principle. So you're saying that sensory pleasure can justify doing anything to animals, is that correct?
I ain't gonna fuck a dog.
But by your logic, the sensory pleasure can justify killing an animals. I could fuck a dog if I wanted to, using that logic.
No.
What's the difference?
No, I like dogs. I have 2 golden retrievers at my parents' house where I grew up at.
Is there a morally relevant difference between a dog and a cow and their ability to perceive the world and feel pain and suffer? Is there any difference between the two animals?
Yeah. I mean, shit. A cow's a cow. A dog's a dog.
This is the point where Jacob's ability to think critically starts to shut down and he stops engaging.
I hang out with my dog. Am I going to hang out with a cow?
You said earlier that you thought cows were intelligent, and
they're huge. I can't like cuddle with one in my bed.
should we grant moral consideration based on if you can cuddle someone in bed?
You're making this about something else.
How?
I like dick.
When someone says they love dick, it's probably time to stop talking to them, politely end the conversation, and make one last case for animal rights.
Do you have any other questions for me?
Thank you for having me. I hope you don't misconstrue anything that I said.
Sure. And like I said, we both agreed that it's more moral to reduce animal suffering. Every time you pay for these meat products, you are paying for animals to be tortured and abused when you don't need to. So I would love to give you some resources you could look into how to enjoy your cheeseburgers and whatnot, because I don't want to take any enjoyment of food away from you. But I do think that animals' lives are more important. Yeah.
I agree.
Thank you so much. I really appreciated this.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button. If you want to support my work, join my Patreon. This month we donated $80 to Direct Action Everywhere. Special thanks to my morally superior patrons.